You are here. The evening air grows cool upon your skin, a welcome relief from the day's heat. Seated on your marble boat, a monument of exquisite stillness, you watch the last rays of sun bleed across the surface of Kunming Lake, turning the water to liquid gold. The world, for this one perfect moment, is silent and obedient. The stone beneath your hand is cool and smooth, polished by the finest craftsmen in the empire. It is a throne of sorts, this boat that will never sail, a perfect symbol of your reign. Grand, immovable, and entirely yours. You trace the intricate carving of a dragon along the side, its stone scales warmed by the fading sun. This is your power made manifest, the ability to command mountains of marble, to be shaped into a whim, to create a private lake where once there were only rice paddies and villages. You lift a small porcelain cup to your lips. The tea is fragrant with jasmine, its warmth spreading through you, a familiar comfort in the twilight. Your ladies-in-waiting and eunuchs stand at a respectful distance, their forms like silent statues in the growing dusk, their breathing so soft you cannot hear it. They exist only to serve your needs, to anticipate your desires. A glance from you can elevate them, a frown can doom them. Within the walls of this summer palace, within the vast expanse of the Forbidden City, your word is the word of heaven itself. You are the old Buddha, the paramount authority of the great king. Your thoughts drift to the emperor, your nephew, Guangxu. He sits in his own palace, studying the classics, practicing his calligraphy. He performs the rites, he signs the edicts, he wears the dragon robe. But you know, and he knows, who truly holds the mandate. You chose him as a child, placed him on the dragon throne, and you have guided his hand ever since. He is the sun, bright and visible, but you are the gravity that dictates his orbit. The court understands this. The ministers, the princes, the generals with their modern rifles and their ancient loyalties, they all bring their petitions to you through the screen of yellow silk that separates you from the world of men. They kowtow not to the boy, but to the will that has steered this empire for nearly 50 years. You feel the weight of your phoenix headdress, the cool touch of its pearls and kingfisher feathers against your hair. It is a familiar weight, the anchor of your identity. You have worn this mantle of power for so long, it has become a part of you, fused to your very bones. You remember being a young concubine, entering the Forbidden City as a girl, full of uncertainty. Now, you are its unshakable center. But as a gentle breeze ripples the reflection of the moon on the water, a chill that has nothing to do with the evening air settles deep within your heart. Your gaze lifts from the tranquil lake and looks outward, past the perfectly sculpted hills, to the world beyond. Your power, so absolute within these walls, feels brittle, fragile. A beautiful porcelain vase, intricate and priceless but with a crack running through it. The foreigners, the Yangqueezy, the ocean devils, their presence is a poison in the blood of the dynasty. They do not respect the ancient rites. They do not understand the harmony of heaven and earth. They come with steamships that churn the sacred waters of the Yangtze, with railways that slice through the tombs of your ancestors, with thunderous cannons that shatter the gates of your cities. They forced the opium into your people's lungs and then demanded your silver and your ports as payment for your resistance. You close your eyes, but you can see the maps in the hands of the British, the French, the Germans, the Russians, even the Japanese, your former tributaries, who now snarl at you like ungrateful wolves. They have drawn lines through your lands, carving up the celestial empire like a melon. Hong Kong, Taiwan, Port Arthur. They call them concessions, spheres of influence. You know them for what they are: wounds, humiliations that fester and will not heal. And this poison from without has bred a sickness within. The reformers, men like Kan Yawei and Liang Qichao, they have the emperor's ear now. They whisper to your nephew in the dark, filling his head with dangerous ideas. They speak of parliaments, constitutions, of remaking the army, the schools, the entire government in the image of the Western barbarians who have humiliated you. They say this is the only way to survive, to strengthen the nation. You take a slow, deliberate breath, the scent of lotus blossoms heavy in the air. Strengthen, you see it as a dilution, a surrender. They want to cut the long queues of your Manchu bannermen. They want to abandon the Confucian classics that have been the bedrock of civilization for 2,000 years. They want you to become like the very people who have brought you to your knees. To change is to admit that the ancestors were wrong. To reform is to concede that the mandate of heaven is not enough. And so you sit on your boat that goes nowhere, caught in an impossible current. Behind you lies the court you command, steeped in 1,000 years of tradition. Before you lies a world of aggressive, industrial powers who see your tradition as weakness. And beside you, in the heart of your own palace, is a growing movement for a future you cannot recognize. Led by the very emperor you placed on the throne, the lanterns along the shore now cast long, shimmering trails across the water. The night is deep and quiet, but in the silence a question screams. How do you hold a dynasty together when it is being torn apart from the outside and rotting from within? How do you preserve the glory of the great king when the very foundations of that glory are being washed away by a relentless, modern tide? The choice is yours and yours alone, to cling to the shore of tradition or to let the currents of change pull you into an unknown, and perhaps even more dangerous sea. The air grows colder. You must decide. You are no longer by the lake. The tranquility of the summer palace is a distant memory, a fleeting dream. You are back in the heart of the dragon, within the vermilion walls of the forbidden city. The air here is different. It is thick with secrets, heavy with the weight of centuries of power. You sit in your personal audience chamber, separated from the room by the customary screen of yellow silk, its embroidered phoenixes shimmering in the flickering lamplight. The scent of aged sandalwood incense hangs in the air, a fragrance you have always associated with difficult decisions. For days, the reports have come to you, a relentless flood of paper, edict after edict, bearing the emperor's seal. Each one is a hammer blow against the pillars of the world you have so carefully maintained. You hold a scroll in your hand, its silk ties undone. You don't need to read it again. The words are seared into your mind. The emperor, at the urging of that southern scholar Kang Yahweh, has abolished the 8-legged essay, the sacred, intricate literary form that has been the heart of the civil service examinations for 500 years gone. With the stroke of a brush, he has declared the wisdom of generations to be worthless. Another edict established an imperial university in Beijing, one that would teach Western science and political theory. Another called for the creation of a national budget, to be published for review as if the treasury of the Son of Heaven were a common merchant ledger. He plans to build railways, to create a patent office to send young Manchu princes abroad to study the barbarians' ways. He is not strengthening the dynasty. He is performing a public dissection. He is taking the sacred body of the empire and laying its organs bare for all the world to see, replacing them one by one with foreign parts that do not fit. Your conservative ministers, the iron princes of the Manchu court, come to you in secret. Their faces are masks of disbelief and fear. They kowtow before your screen, their foreheads touching the cold floor, and they beg you to intervene. They tell you the ancestors are weeping. They tell you the army is confused. The scholars are in an uproar, and the spirit of the nation is draining away. Your teacup is cold. You have not touched it for an hour. Your focus is on the man kneeling silently on the other side of the screen. You cannot see his face clearly through the silk, only his powerful silhouette, the outline of his official hat and the rigid set of his shoulders. General Ronglu, your most loyal commander. His new, modern army guards the capital. He is a Manchu, a traditionalist, a man who understands that power flows not from radical new ideas, but from loyalty and a steady hand. He has said nothing for a long time, simply waiting for you to speak. His silence is a promise of obedience. You think of Guangxu, your nephew, the frail, nervous boy you chose to succeed the Tongji Emperor. You remember him as a child, learning to hold a brush in your presence, his small hand trembling. You taught him, guided him, protected him. And now this betrayal. He believes he is saving China. You know he is leading it to the slaughter. He does not see the trap. The foreigners will not applaud his reforms. They will only see them as weakness, as an invitation to demand even more. And his own people, the bedrock of the dynasty, will see him as a heretic who has abandoned his ancestors. The empire will shatter from within. You cannot allow it. The reformers call you a relic, an obstacle, a stubborn old woman clinging to a dead past. But you see yourself as the sea wall, the immovable stone against which the chaotic waves must break. Someone must have the strength to say no. Someone must have the will to protect the sacred traditions from the fashionable madness of the moment. That has always been your role. The decision has been forming in your mind for days, solidifying from a fearful thought into a cold, hard necessity. It is a terrible risk. To move against the Emperor, the Son of Heaven, is to tamper with the very order of the cosmos. But to do nothing is a certainty of collapse. You have always chosen the path of survival. You will choose it again. You place the scroll down on the small table beside you. The sound is quiet, but in the silent room, it feels as definitive as a gavel strike. You can feel Ronglu's attention sharpen on the other side of the screen. The moment has arrived. Your voice, when you speak, is not loud. It is perfectly calm, measured, and devoid of emotion. It is the voice of command, a voice he has known and obeyed for decades. General Ronglu, you begin, the sound seeming to absorb all the light and air in the room. Your servant is here. He replies, his voice a low rumble. The Emperor is unwell. You state, it is not a question. It is a fact you are creating. His mind is troubled. He has been led astray by bad counsel. He has been working too hard, and his spirit is exhausted. He is in no condition to govern. You let the silence hang for a beat. Let him understand the full meaning. He requires a long period of rest, a convalescence, a time for quiet contemplation, away from the pressures of the court and the whispers of traitors. You lean forward slightly, your shadow falling across the silk screen. You will go to the Emperor's palace. Take your most trusted men. There is to be no violence, no disturbance. You are there to ensure his well-being. See to it that his residence is secured. He is to be shown every courtesy, but he must not be disturbed. No one is to enter or leave without my express, written permission. You pause and then deliver the final, quiet command that will seal the fate of 100 days of change. The reformist edicts are to be rescinded, all of them, and the primary conspirators who have poisoned my nephew's mind, Kang Yaowei, Liang Qichao, and their 6 chief associates, are to be arrested. Find them. Bring them to the board of punishments through the screen. You see General Ronglu's silhouette bow low, his head touching the ground in a profound kowtow. It will be done, Your Imperial Majesty, he says. His voice is firm, unwavering. It is done. With a few calm words, you have set in motion a coup. You have taken back the power you briefly allowed to slip from your grasp. You feel no triumph, only the cold, heavy certainty of a necessary act performed. The crucible is over. The command has been given. Now, you must wait for the consequences. The morning sun casts long, sharp shadows across the courtyards of the Forbidden City. The air is crisp, but it carries a new tension. The usual rhythm of the palace has been broken. Guards from Ronglu's army in their modern uniforms stand at attention at gates usually manned by palace eunuchs. Their faces are impassive, but their presence is a clear and unambiguous message. The old Buddha has reasserted her will. You receive the reports one by one, delivered by silent eunuchs who move with even more caution than usual. They do not meet your eyes. They simply place the scrolls on your table and retreat. The first report confirms your command is complete. The Emperor, Guangxu, is secure in his residence on Ocean Terrace, an island palace within the Forbidden City. He did not resist. The report says he simply looked at General Ronglu with a deep, bottomless sadness before turning away. He is now, in effect, a prisoner in a gilded cage. You have shown him every courtesy, as you ordered. His meals are exquisite. His silks are the finest, but the doors are locked. The flow of information to him has been severed. The Son of Heaven is an emperor in name only. The second report details the fate of the reformers. A victory and a failure. 6 of them, including the brilliant Tan Sitong, were captured. They faced the board of punishments with a strange defiance, accepting their fate as martyrs for a new China. The order for their execution was swift. There was no lengthy trial. You did not permit one. A quick, sharp end to the disease. You feel a pang, not of remorse, but of weariness. a necessary surgery to save the body politic. You picture their headless bodies, a grim necessity, and focus instead on the stability their deaths will bring. It is the cost of order, but the main architects, Kang Yawei and his protege Liang Qichao, were faster, wiser. They had allies in the foreign legations. They slipped through the net. The Japanese and British embassies granted them sanctuary and spirited them out of the country. They are beyond your reach now, free to spread their venomous lies about you across the world, painting you as a cruel, despotic tyrant who has imprisoned a visionary young emperor. You clench your jaw. The humiliation stings. Their escape complicates everything. It creates a narrative you cannot control, a voice of opposition that will echo from overseas. In the days that follow, the old order reasserts itself like a tide returning to the shore. The edicts you nullified are formally withdrawn. The eight-legged essay is reinstated. The plans for railways are shelved. The old, conservative ministers who were cowering in fear just weeks ago now walk with renewed confidence. They praise your wisdom, your decisive action. They thank you for saving the dynasty from the brink. You sit behind your screen, listening to their flattery, accepting their gratitude. You have consolidated your power. The court is once again yours, unified and obedient. The threat from within has been neutralized. But in stamping out the embers of reform, you feel a subtle shift in the earth beneath your feet. You have extinguished not just a rebellion, but a hope, the path to peaceful. Gradual change is now seen as a death sentence. You have shown the restless and the discontented that the throne will not bend. It can only be broken. The quiet frustration that once sought an outlet in petitions and edicts now has nowhere to go. It seeps deeper into the soil of the northern provinces, into the hearts of the peasants and the dispossessed, where it begins to curdle into something far more volatile and dangerous. A few years pass. The seasons turn. You continue to rule, to manage the slow decline, to hold the fractured empire together with sheer force of will. But the poison of humiliation from the foreign powers continues to spread. Their missionaries disregard your laws, their soldiers patrol your lands, their merchants drain your silver. The frustration you bottled up begins to ferment into a furious, mystical rage. Rumors begin to reach you from the provinces of Shandong and Zili. Whispers of a secret society, the fists of righteous harmony. The boxers, they are called. They practice a spiritual martial art, claiming it makes them impervious to foreign bullets. They preach a doctrine of violent xenophobia, a holy war to drive the ocean devils and their secondary hairy ones, the Chinese, Christians, into the sea. At first, you dismissed them as peasant fanatics, a local disturbance for the provincial governor to handle. But their movement grows with terrifying speed. They are a wildfire fueled by years of drought, famine, and foreign exploitation. They tear up railway tracks, burn churches, and murder converts. Some of your most conservative Manchu princes, men who despise the foreigners as much as you do, see an opportunity. They begin to champion the boxers at court. They speak of them not as rebels, but as a righteous, patriotic militia, a divine weapon sent by the heavens to finally purify China. They whisper in your ear, "Your Majesty, their cause is our cause. They have the power of the gods. Let us harness this force. Let us support them, and with them, we can finally expel the barbarians and restore the glory of the king." You are hesitant. You have seen peasant rebellions before. They are difficult to control, but the alternative, to suppress them, would mean siding with the foreigners against your own people, and the thought is intoxicating. A vast, spiritual army immune to bullets, rising up to avenge a century of humiliation. Perhaps this is the answer. Not the weak-kneed reforms of your nephew, but a true, spiritual purification. A war of the spirit against the machine. The labyrinth of the court has led you here. Your decision to crush the 100 Days reform has closed one door and opened another, more terrible one. The quiet frustration you created has now erupted into a righteous, violent mob. You face a new choice, born from the consequences of the last one. Do you unleash the storm and pray you can control it? Or do you try to fight against a hurricane of your own making? The pressure is immense. The consequences of your past decision are now staring you in the face, armed with swords and chanting incantations. The moon is high and white, bathing the courtyards of the summer palace in a sterile, silver light. You are back here in your sanctuary, but the peace you once found by the lake is gone. It is a memory of a memory. You stand on a balcony overlooking the gardens, the cool stone balustrade pressing against your palms. The night air is thick with the scent of night-blooming jasmine, but tonight it smells of regret. The storm was not controllable. You chose to believe the fanatics, to sanction the Boxers. You declared war on the 8 most powerful nations on Earth. It was a moment of desperate, furious hope, and it led to the greatest humiliation of all. The Boxers' magic could not stop bullets. Their spiritual fervor was no match for machine guns and artillery. The 8-nation alliance marched on Beijing. You see it now not as a memory, but as a phantom vision that plays behind your eyes. Whenever you close them, the flight from the Forbidden City, you, the Empress Dowager, the old Buddha, disguised as a common peasant woman, jostled in a rough cart, fleeing your own capital like a common criminal. The shame of it is a physical weight, a constant ache in your bones. They plundered the Forbidden City. They walked through the sacred halls, with their muddy boots, stealing priceless treasures, burning ancient texts. They looted this very summer palace, your beautiful creation, shattering its beauty, defiling its tranquility. The indemnity they demanded was staggering, a mountain of silver that has bled the treasury dry and will burden your people for generations. You stare out into the darkness. The gardens have been restored, the palace is rebuilt. But you know it is a facade, a beautiful mask on a dying face. You won the battle for the court when you crushed the reforms, but you lost the war for China. By destroying the one path to internal change, you created the conditions for the Boxer madness. And that madness brought the final, crushing blow from the outside. Your every move to preserve the dynasty seems only to have hammered another nail into its coffin. Your thoughts drift again to Guangxu, still a prisoner on his island, his health failing, his spirit long since broken. Was he right? Was his naive, frantic attempt at reform the only chance you ever had? The thought is a serpent coiling in your gut. To admit it would be to admit that your entire life, your 50 years of careful, ruthless statecraft, was a colossal mistake. It is an agony you cannot afford to feel. You must believe you did what was necessary. You must believe you chose the only path available. You are old now. The fatigue is no longer just in your body, it is in your soul. A weariness so profound it feels like the weight of the entire, crumbling empire rests upon your frail shoulders. You have outlasted all your rivals. You have ruled longer than almost any monarch on earth. You have held absolute power. And for what? Your gaze turns towards the part of the palace where the child sleeps. Pui. The new heir, another small boy, chosen by you to carry the immense, crushing weight of the dragon throne. You have signed the edict. When you are gone, he will be the emperor. You look at him and you see the future, a helpless child on a throne of ghosts, ruling over a dynasty in its death throes, a dynasty you fought so hard to protect, but which now seems destined to dissolve into the dust of history. What will they say of you when the story of the great king is finally written? What will be your chapter? The clever concubine who seized power, the resolute ruler who held the line against the barbarians, or the stubborn autocrat who refused to see the future, who strangled her own empire in a desperate embrace? The cool night breeze feels like a final, gentle whisper. You feel the immense weight of the crown not on your head, but on your heart. It is heavy with the ghosts of executed reformers, with the shadows of foreign soldiers in your sacred city, with the sad eyes of an imprisoned emperor. It is the weight of a long life spent fighting for a cause that may already be lost. You turn from the balcony and walk slowly back into your chambers. The silk of your robes whispers against the polished floor. Your attendants move silently to prepare you for bed. The world outside is quiet. The conspiracies are over. The decisions have been made. There is nothing left now but the silence and the slow, inevitable fall of night. As you lie down, you close your eyes. You let the weariness wash over you, a slow, deep tide. You let go of the court, the empire, the legacy. You let go of the 50 years of struggle. There is only the darkness now, deep and calm. A final, quiet kingdom where you are not an empress, not a ruler, not a legend. Just a tired old woman drifting at last into the dreamless, Silent Sea of Sleep